I've been with my wife for 12 years. I am still blown away after we do this about how she is perceiving a situation. It never would have occurred to me to perceive a situation that way, yet that is her reality. And I know her really well, but I don't know her that well. And that's what's beautiful about relating. We don't really know everything that's going on, the complexity of the other person. Everybody, Todd Jason here, and a really important question flowed in from one of my clients that I think can help many of you out there who are either in a marriage, a partnership, or considering one. So here is the question. Todd, I am not happy in my marriage and haven't been for a long time. Truthfully, we are both struggling and we've tried a bunch of things, but nothing seemed to work. We've been unable to find that excitement, that spark, that connection. And I'm wondering if you ever condone people splitting up, or do you believe the pain and discomfort we are experiencing in the marriage is our greatest opportunity to grow? Meaning, should we stay in it? I've been following you for years and really curious about what you have to say to this. And I love this question, and I appreciate your vulnerability for sharing it. And I've been married for 7 years, been together with my wife for 12. So the first thing that's the most important when staying married, getting married, or deciding whether or not your relationship really has legs is having an honest assessment about what your vision is for that marriage or that partnership. If everything plays out, what does it look like for you to be really happy and successful in this relationship? And not just in the right now. I want you thinking long-term, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. What is it that you personally want to build towards in this partnership? What does excite you about remaining in the relationship? You have to ask yourself that question. Embedded in her question that she came in with was, we lost the excitement and the spark and the connection. And oftentimes we blame the other or circumstances on that. But if we don't take the time to ask ourselves, is there a possibility of finding excitement and joy by our union? Then you can't ever get to really finding that within yourself. And we need to start here. As soon as you do that work, you need to find out the same question from your partner. Did they have an idea and a vision that this lasting relationship could be exciting, could have spark and connection? Is there still some inkling of a positive future that exists in his or her mind? Very important to start right there. I recommend all relationships, as soon as they start to get serious, to ask this question and to ask it periodically, because guess what? We change and they change. And if you're not staying true to the long-term vision, if you're not staying aware of the long-term vision, chances are you start to drift apart and there's no foundation underneath by which you're driving and moving towards. The second piece, equally important, is, do you have shared values? So the first one was about vision. Do you have the same exciting vision about what this could be if it worked out really well? The values is different. This is how we show up in the world, the things that are really important to us as a couple. And we start again by looking at, what are the things that are really important to me? Sometimes you could think about family or kids, or about where you live, or the kind of work that you do, or how you communicate and how you fight and disagree with each other. These are the day-to-day ground rules by which we operate together. And sometimes in a marriage or relationship, we lose the foundation of that. And it's very important to revisit those values. What do we stand for in our day-to-day about how we show up, not only in this relationship, but in our lives? Do we still have the same commitment to those values of integrity, of honesty, of openness, of change? Whatever it is that drew you to this person initially, make sure that those values still stand strong, because they can shift. Third piece, are you getting the support you need outside of the marriage? And this one is just so incredibly important, because when you're in it with somebody else, it is very hard to break out of that dualistic way of relating to each other without having a proper support system on the outside. Now, this could be a therapist, this could be a coach, this could be a mentor, this could be friends, but it's very important that you have somebody to process information outside of the relationship. And equally important, your partner needs to have that too. And what I found in coaching people for 20 years is that more often than not, only one of the people is using outside forces and outside wisdom and processing information outside of the relationship, which causes a great deal of angst. And so this is a moment in time that you need to look at your partner in the eye and say, are you getting support outside of this relationship? Are you finding joy and spaciousness and new ideas and new ways of thinking about this? And are you processing information that's allowing you to understand what's really going on here? If you don't have that level of support, or your partner doesn't, it's going to be very hard to roll with the evolution of the relationship. When you're trying to do it together, it's virtually impossible because we're always changing. And so these relationships, if you hold it the right way, can get richer and they can get more juicy and they can get more enticing by letting go of the old stories that might have existed at one point, but don't exist right now. And the only way that we find them is by moving and having conversations and getting support outside of the relationship that gives us additional perspectives. And a lot of people have fear around this. And the fear is, oh my God, they're going to realize they don't love me. They're going to realize they want out. But find that information out. We got to get to the truth of this thing. Relationships can be really hard. Okay. They can be really hard, but we have to just be able to pull the rug up and be like, okay, what do I really want? And what do you really want? And let's use every tool available to us, i.e. support, to find that out. And then let's come together and report back to each other with love and with kindness and with authenticity. Because oftentimes we are so scared to hear what's really going on in the other person's mind and heart. And that has led us to such a level of disconnection. But what if, I'm just offering this to you right now, what if it's not so scary? What if you look at your partner as somebody who, like you, is struggling and has changed and is thinking and doing things differently? And what if you just allowed him or her to have their space to process? And you found the ability to love their process for where they're at right now. This is the way that we can evolve and love somebody. But if we're really honest, we're very attached to the old ideas we had about this relationship and this person, and we don't often flow with it. So really what we do when we're getting the support is allowing the current wisdom, the current setup to be known so that we can at least make a very wise decision. And by the way, if you like what I'm sharing here in these videos that I do and you find them helpful, give me a like, let me know, and actually share a comment. I love interacting with people on YouTube. Let me know what you think of it. And I look forward to hopefully assisting. So then this last piece is really all about communication and what gets lost along the way when fear shrouds the ability to see one another and also the ability to be really truthful with ourselves. We really lose the ability to communicate. And this is where marriages and partnerships really go off. And if there's one thing that you take away from this video, I hope that it's the constant practice to work on your communication in your relationship as a very real thing. Okay. So really we want to be able to create truth within ourselves. We want to give our partner the ability and the space to find the truth within them and really to motivate them to get the support that they need or to motivate ourselves to do that. And then we need to be able to come back together and share. And that sharing is so incredibly important. And the way that I recommend the sharing is to make it official, meaning that you're going to have a conversation and there's going to be rules of engagement in the conversation. My wife and I will have these sit downs, and the way that we do it is she gets a half hour to share whatever is coming up with her without me reacting. I can take notes, I can do whatever I want, but my job is just to listen and no reaction. Whatever she's going to say, as scary as it might be, as angry as it might make me, my intention in that moment is to give her the full space to just share. And the 30 minutes is big because when the person starts talking, new things come out. You're giving them a gift just by allowing them to be themselves, and you can really hear what they're going through. And once that is over, then it's my turn and I'm able to share for 30 minutes. And the rule here is really important, that the second person sharing cannot be a reaction to the first person sharing. This is very subtle, but important. They share, you hear their truth, you put a cap on it, and then you share what's coming up for you. And the whole idea of this communication is not to blame the other person. This is just your own experience. And some of the language that's really important here is my experience is, what I'm feeling is, my perception of the situation is. Own that this is your perception and not the universal truth. Very powerful language to use and model with your partner. You have your own impression. You have your own little universe that you're living in. So do they. So we need to use language that creates okayness and space for you to share your truth and also for the other person to hear it. So these are very practical, technical skills with how to do this. And so to answer your original question, I want you to go through this process. I want you to get clear on your values, on your vision. I want you to make sure that there's support going on outside of the relationship on both areas. And then I want you to come together and have a really honest and open communication using proper mechanism, meaning you share, they share. And it's quiet and it's calm and there's no fear and it's open. After those 2 periods of 30 minutes, then you're able to interact with each other. And this is often a very beautiful moment, believe it or not, that you can really hear each other and like, wow, okay, I didn't realize that this is what you were going through. I never took that into consideration. I've been with my wife for 12 years. I am still blown away after we do this about how she is perceiving a situation. It never would have occurred to me to perceive a situation that way, yet that is her reality. And I know her really well, but I don't know her that well. And that's what's beautiful about relating. We don't really know everything that's going on, the complexity of the other person. Think about how complex you are. You change in the moment, depending on so many factors. So do they. So allow them the space to be themselves. Be surprised and curious about how they're experiencing that. Sometimes during these sessions with my wife, I'll just start laughing. She's like, what's so funny? I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not interrupting your 30 minutes, but it's fascinating to hear your perception on that situation because I never would have thought that myself. And I didn't imagine that's what you were thinking. I'm not judging it. I'm just letting you know. That's beautiful. Healing. Because then that other person then can now look at you with the same curiosity because they're also not seeing you in that moment. So these communication techniques are the most important thing. So this is going to start a really beautiful communication between you. And now getting to this last piece, do I think that every marriage needs to stay together? Absolutely not. Look, people come in with the best intentions to commit their lives together and to dedicate. And that's a beautiful intention. And if you go through a process like this that I just described, where you're really doing your best to give yourself and the other every tool to explore who they are and what they want and what their values are and what their vision is, and you're giving them the opportunity to really share, and you're really that open ear, and then they're that way to you. And in that process, you've uncovered that, wow, you really have grown apart, that this isn't really working. What's the point of forcing a square peg through a round hole and really limiting the amount of joy you can have in this life, limiting the amount of joy that they can have in this life? I'm not a proponent of getting divorced or separated. I don't want that for myself. I want to do everything I can to stay in and to find that growth within my partnership. But it would be ridiculous to say that every relationship should stay married and together forever. That's not my opinion. I think going through this process will uncover a lot. And 9 times out of 10, doing this the way I described will uncover the pathway to connection and love and excitement and spark. It does. You need to find it. You need to work at it. But if it doesn't, 1 out of 10 times, you start making some decisions and you start having those conversations. And I wouldn't rush into it, but I would really look at that and see if there's really that connection still there or not. So I really hope this helps. And again, if you've liked what I've shared here, like it, give a comment, and look forward to talking to you soon.